Okay, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. I recommend this book so often these days that I thought I would do a little video about each chapter, because I realize that not everybody has time to read an entire book. So my goal is in 5 minutes or less to summarize chapter by chapter this book. So there's 19 chapters. I can't recommend it enough. It's so good. I think you should read the entire thing, but I'm going to try to summarize each chapter for you in a very brief way. It's just such good material, especially for times like right now. So chapter 1 is called The Voice Inside Your Head. And he starts off by saying, in case you haven't noticed, you have a mental dialogue going on inside your head that never stops. It just keeps going and going. If I had to summarize this chapter with one line, on page 10, he said, "You are not the voice of the mind, you are the one who hears it." So he introduces the topic of the voice inside your head. And if this is the first time you've ever heard anything like this, it sounds trippy, but it's just your thinking. And once you kind of realize that you're always thinking, you become aware of that. And then that would be step 1, awareness. Oh, I'm always thinking. There's always an internal dialogue going on inside my head. And then step 2 is the solution to this. And he says this on page 9, the best way to free yourself from this incessant chatter is to step back and view it objectively. So practical application of that would be, so many people are telling me I couldn't go to sleep last night. My mind wouldn't stop. And I've certainly had that experience myself where the mind is racing and it's keeping you awake. So his point is that we are not those thoughts. And the reason why that's so important is that it allows us to create a little bit of distance between us and the thoughts. So we can just kind of allow them to pass instead of grasping onto them and allowing them to drive us crazy and deprive us of sleep and put us into a full-on panic. That's why this book is amazing, because it just kind of talks about how we are not our thoughts. We're not our good thoughts. We're not our bad thoughts. We are not our thoughts. We are the one who notices. Talks about a little bit about why the mind does this, and it has to do with we can't control the world, and when the world seems really out of control, our mind can sometimes ramp up in an attempt to make things safer or more understandable, but how many times that method doesn't work. It just ends up driving us nuts. It won't stop. So he talks about how to be aware that you are watching the voice that's talking is to stand on the threshold of a fantastic inner journey. So it's the beginning to just kind of contemplate the idea that we're the silent watcher instead of our thoughts, brings us a great amount of peace. And he says, if used properly, the same mental voice that has been a source of worry, distraction, and general neuroses can become the launching ground for true spiritual awakening. Come to know the one who watches the voice, and you will come to know one of the great mysteries of creation. So that's a really hopeful part at the very end of chapter 1. So later on in the book, in each of the chapters, there's just really great solution for how to detach from the neuroses, the mind patterns, and therefore how to live in peace and joy. He has some pretty radical notions that we can choose joy at any given point, no matter what's going on outside, by gaining some mastery over what's going on inside our brain. So that's basically it. That's my summary of chapter 1. You have a voice inside your head. It is your thoughts, and you are not that. You are something completely different. You're the one who just observes the thoughts. So I hope that helps. And chapter 2 is next.